Imagine opening an online store where the products are not phones, watches, or weapons. They are people. And most of them never knew their browser, their bank session, or their private accounts had entered a criminal catalog. A bank customer in Amsterdam, a business employee in London, a retiree checking an investment account, a student opening an email. Their names are not displayed. Their lives are broken into categories: country, account type, value, price. For years, a criminal market called Genesis sold the pieces needed to impersonate strangers online. Not only passwords, cookies, browser history, saved sessions, device signals, the small details that can make a criminal's login look familiar. More than 1.5 million compromised computers. More than 80 million account credentials. Then, on April 4th, 2023, the storefront disappeared. In its place came a message from law enforcement. This website has been seized. The operation was called Cookie Monster. But the story was not about a funny name. It was about a marketplace that turned human trust into inventory, and a global manhunt that followed the customers who bought it.
Welcome to CyberCasebook.
Genesis Market was not a conventional ransomware gang. It was not a single malware strain. And it was not simply a forum where criminals pasted old password lists. Genesis was a criminal marketplace, a service that sold stolen digital identities, account access, and browser-linked data to other criminals. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Genesis Market had operated since March 2018. That date is important because the public record around its earliest history is not perfectly consistent. F5 Labs documented a service called Genesis Store emerging in late 2018. Sophos later described Genesis as active since 2017. Those accounts may reflect earlier activity, a launch period, or different versions of the same service. But the clearest official anchor is this. The DOJ says Genesis had been operating since March 2018. Its exact founders, administrators, and developers were never publicly identified in the main official announcements reviewed for this case. No confirmed public record gives us a mastermind's name, age, nationality, city, aliases, childhood, education, or previous job. That is unusual for a cybercrime case of this size. The main culprit was not a face on a wanted poster. It was the marketplace itself. A highly organized criminal service whose human leadership remained largely hidden. But the marketplace left a very visible footprint. F5 Labs documented Genesis in 2020. Its images showed a polished, commercial-looking platform with a dashboard, a wiki, a news section, searchable inventory, order pages, payment sections, and support tickets. It had the structure of a legitimate online business. There were product listings. There were filters. There was customer support. There were updates after purchase. The design mattered. It reduced cybercrime from a complicated underground activity into something buyers could browse, sort, and purchase. According to F5, users could search for specific brands, account types, and data categories. According to the DOJ, they could search stolen access by location or account type, including banking, social media, and email. The market was reachable through both the clear web and the dark web, according to authorities and researchers. Sophos described it as invitation only. That exclusivity gave it the appearance of a private club for criminals, while its interface made the business feel ordinary. This was cybercrime professionalized. The market's own branding referred to its product as bots. That word hit the human reality. In Genesis terminology, a bot generally meant a compromised computer or device, and the package of data gathered from it. It could be a person's laptop, a work machine, a home computer, a device used for banking, shopping, email, or social media. The marketplace did not need to know the victim personally. It needed only the digital material that made that person recognizable to websites. In 2019, F5 observed around 127,000 bots listed for sale. By October 2020, it observed about 323,000. In February 2023, the U.S. Treasury said Genesis had approximately 460,000 packages listed for sale, with each package representing one compromised device or computer. Then came the largest scale figure of all. The DOJ said Genesis had offered data taken from more than 1.5 million compromised computers worldwide, containing more than 80 million account access credentials. Those numbers are not the same measure. A computer is not a credential. A listed package is not necessarily one person. And a digital identity is not proof that a victim lost money. But together, they describe a market operating at industrial scale. At its core, Genesis sold one promise to criminals. You do not have to steal the identity yourself. You can buy it. A stolen password can be dangerous, but a password alone often raises questions. Why is the login coming from a new device? Why does the browser look different? Why is the user suddenly in another country? Why does the account behavior feel wrong? Genesis reportedly offered the surrounding information that could make a stolen identity more convincing. According to the DOJ, its packages included credentials such as usernames and passwords. They could also include device fingerprints, browser cookies, autofill information, and other device-linked details. The phrase device fingerprint sounds technical, but the basic idea is simple. Websites learn patterns. The browser you use, the kind of device you use, the settings and signals that make your session look familiar. The DOJ said Genesis combined stolen credentials, cookies, and fingerprints in ways that could make third-party websites treat a buyer as if they were the real account holder. A password was only the beginning. The National Crime Agency described the packages as bots containing saved logins, cookies, and autofill form data. It also said buyers could receive new information as it was collected from infected devices. F5 and Sophos reported that buyers saw updated labels on purchased records. In other words, the market presented stolen identity data not as a one-time leak, but as a product that could remain current. That is what made Genesis different from old-fashioned credential dumps. A traditional dump might contain a username and a password from months ago. Genesis reportedly sold a richer profile, the small digital clues that surrounded a victim's online life. That made the information potentially valuable to fraudsters, account thieves, and criminals looking for a foothold inside an organization. The victims were everywhere. The DOJ said credentials offered on Genesis included access connected to the financial sector, critical infrastructure, and federal, state, and local government agencies. Eurojust said that near the takedown, Genesis was advertising credentials from around 460,000 devices located in almost every country. The NCA said the marketplace hosted approximately 80 million credentials and digital fingerprints stolen from more than 2 million people. Again, the figures refer to different categories: devices, credentials, packages, and identities. They should not be compressed into a single dramatic number. The truth is already dramatic enough. Genesis customers could allegedly buy a profile for less than the price of a cup of coffee, or pay far more for a package containing valuable financial information. F5 observed prices ranging from about 70 cents to hundreds of dollars, depending on the country and the accounts associated with the compromised device. The price did not reflect a person's worth. It reflected a criminal calculation of what their digital life might be worth to someone else. The NCA said buyers could use stolen access to move money, pay for goods, or potentially use compromised accounts in money laundering activity. Security researchers also said the data could support further fraud and social engineering. But accuracy matters here. The public record does not prove that every listed identity was used for fraud. It does not prove that every buyer committed the same crime. And no official global total for victim losses has been confirmed in the materials supplied for this documentary. Genesis did not issue ransom notes to victims in the way a ransomware gang might. Instead, it was a supplier. It sold access that other criminals could use in many different ways. The DOJ said Genesis offered the type of access sought by ransomware actors, and private sector reports indicated the market's access had been used in ransomware-related attacks. That does not mean Genesis itself launched every ransomware attack. And the official material does not name a confirmed list of ransomware groups that purchased access there. Do not attach famous names such as Lockbit, Conti, or Revel to Genesis without a direct verified source. Genesis was an access broker, not a confirmed ransomware gang. The human cost becomes clearest when one victim is no longer a statistic. Dutch police described the case of a 71-year-old man whose identity was allegedly used for fraudulent online shopping, bank account abuse, and the theft of almost 70,000 euros from an investment account. His name was not released, but his case shows what a bot could mean in the real world. It could mean a person watching savings vanish. It could mean unexplained transactions, locked accounts, false purchases, financial panic, and the terrifying sense that someone else is living inside your digital life. A marketplace can make crime feel abstract. Victims feel none of it abstractly. Who ran Genesis Market? The most honest answer is, the public does not know. The main official announcements reviewed for this case, from the DOJ, US Treasury, Europol, Eurojust, the NCA, and Dutch police, did not publicly identify a complete list of founders, owners, administrators, developers, or malware suppliers behind Genesis. No named operator was presented as the sole mastermind. No public wanted poster in the supplied record identifies the person at the top. No confirmed early life profile exists. That means there is no verified story about a childhood, a family, a university, a first job, or a first crime. The identity remains unclear. This was not necessarily one person acting alone. The public evidence points to a cybercrime-as-a-service ecosystem. At one end were people or services that supplied new victim data. At the center were Genesis administrators who ran a marketplace, maintained inventory, processed purchases, and presented tools and support features to buyers. At the other end were buyers, fraudsters, account thieves, and potentially actors seeking access into larger networks. The exact number of people in each role remains publicly unknown. Eurojust said Genesis administrators obtained victim data through malware deployments and account takeover activity. Trellix said Genesis had worked with a variety of information-stealing malware families, and that law enforcement asked Trellix and Computist to help analyze malicious binaries linked to the market. We will not describe those tools, scripts, or techniques in operational detail. For this story, the important point is that Genesis appeared to depend on an ongoing supply of compromised victim data. A store is only useful when it has inventory. Trellix reported that, in February 2023, Genesis appeared to be recruiting sellers, a sign researchers believed, with moderate confidence, was connected to rising demand. That is a private sector assessment, not a courtroom finding. But it fits the broader picture. Genesis was built around supply, refresh, and resale. One name requires careful separation from the marketplace itself. In September 2024, the U.S. Treasury named Sergei Sergeyevich Ivanov, an alleged Russian money launderer, in a separate coordinated action against illicit virtual currency services. Treasury said Ivanov had served as a payment processor for several fraud shops, including OFAC designated Genesis Market. Treasury did not identify him as a Genesis founder, administrator, developer, or owner. The U.S. State Department offered a reward of up to $10 million for information leading to Ivanov's arrest or conviction. That was an Ivanov reward. It was not a reward for Genesis Market's unknown operators. The same care applies to the market's suspected location. Treasury said Genesis was believed to be located in Russia. That is not proof that the Russian government operated it, sponsored it, or directed it. The biggest mistake a documentary can make is turning uncertainty into a villain. Genesis is compelling precisely because its human leadership remained mostly out of public view. The marketplace had no public CEO, no press conference, no known face, but it had users. And users made purchases. They searched profiles, they opened tickets, they paid, they left a trail. The seizure notice appeared in April 2023, but the investigation had been building for years. According to contemporary reporting on the seizure warrant affidavit, the FBI had investigated Genesis Market since 2018. Europol's European Cybercrime Center, EC3, said it had supported the investigation since 2019, coordinating international work through the Joint Cybercrime Action Task Force, known as JCAT. This was not a single raid. It was a long campaign to understand a marketplace designed to make its users anonymous. According to reporting based on the warrant affidavit, FBI investigators made controlled marketplace purchases, examined cryptocurrency-related payments, and obtained back-end records from Genesis infrastructure. Those reported records included user accounts, purchase history, search history, support tickets, comments, payment data, and records of packages displayed or sold. At a high level, investigators did something crucial. They turned Genesis's own business operations against it. The site had been built to make stolen identities easy to find. Its data allegedly made users easier to identify. The marketplace had presented itself as a shield for criminals. According to the DOJ, it instead created a way for law enforcement to identify, locate, and pursue users. The U.S. investigation was led by the FBI Milwaukee Field Office, with assistance from 44 additional FBI field offices. The prosecution side involved the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Wisconsin, the Department of Justice's Computer Crime and Intellectual Property Section, and the DOJ Office of International Affairs. The DOJ named trial attorneys Benjamin Proctor and Jessica Peck, along with Assistant U.S. Attorney Ferris Martini, as handling the investigation. Then came the international network. The DOJ named the United Kingdom's National Crime Agency, Italy's Polizia di Stato, Police of Denmark, the Australian Federal Police, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Canada's Sûreté du Québec, Romanian Police, France's Cybercrime Subdirectorate for Judicial Police, Spain's Policía Nacional, Spain's Guardia Civil, Germany's Federal Criminal Police Service, the Swedish Police Authority, Poland's Central Bureau for Combating Cybercrime, the Dutch National Police, Finland's National Bureau of Investigation, Switzerland's Office of the Attorney General, Swiss Federal Police, Estonia's Prosecutor General's Office, Iceland's Metropolitan Police, New Zealand Police, Europol, and Eurojust. Authorities in Bulgaria and Latvia also assisted through mutual legal assistance requests. In the United Kingdom, the NCA worked with the City of London Police, regional cybercrime units, and local police forces. Eurojust handled the judicial coordination. It hosted a coordination meeting in March 2023 to prepare for Action Day, then ran a command center on April 4th to resolve legal issues across parallel operations. Europol ran a command post from The Hague to support the operational response. This detail matters. International cybercrime investigations are difficult not only because criminals operate online. They are difficult because the evidence, servers, victims, suspects, and legal authority may all sit in different countries. By April 2023, the operation was ready. On April 4th and 5th, law enforcement moved. The operation had a memorable name, Operation Cookie Monster. The DOJ said authorities seized 11 domain names used to support Genesis market infrastructure, under a warrant authorized by the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Wisconsin. The main public-facing domains displayed the seizure message. Arrest totals are reported slightly differently across official and reputable sources. Eurojust said more than 100 suspects were arrested and more than 200 searches were conducted in 13 countries. The NCA described around 120 arrests, more than 200 searches, and close to 100 preventative actions across the broader 17-country effort. Contemporary reporting cited 119 arrests, 208 property searches, and 97 knock-and-talk measures. The safe conclusion is clear. Operation Cookie Monster produced more than 100 arrests, more than 200 searches, and a wider international effort spanning 17 countries. In the UK, the NCA said it executed 31 warrants and arrested 24 people, including 2 men in Grimsby, on suspicion of Computer Misuse Act and fraud offenses. These were alleged users or purchasers, not publicly confirmed Genesis administrators. This distinction matters. Not every person arrested was a mastermind. The public record shows that many were investigated as alleged customers who purchased or used stolen access. Genesis had made cybercrime accessible to a broad customer base. Operation Cookie Monster made that customer base vulnerable to investigation. On April 5th, 2023, the United States added financial pressure to the law enforcement action. The Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, sanctioned Genesis Market. Treasury said the designation required property and interests in property connected to the entity under U.S. jurisdiction to be blocked and reported. It also generally prohibited U.S. persons from dealing with the designated marketplace. The target was not just a website. It was a business model, a marketplace that allowed criminals to buy access to the victims of other crimes. The disruption also included victim support. The DOJ said credentials obtained during the investigation were provided to Have I Been Pwned, allowing people to check whether their data had been compromised. Dutch police launched the Check Your Hack portal to help possible victims identify exposure. For a victim, that notification could be the first warning that their digital identity had been traded without their knowledge. Authorities advised people to check their exposure, remove malware from affected devices, update credentials, and secure accounts. The operation did not only chase arrests, it tried to give victims a chance to reclaim control. The prosecutions continued after the takedown. According to the case information provided for this documentary, Ladarian Odom was sentenced in November 2023 to 24 months in prison after purchasing about 950 sets of stolen login credentials from Genesis Market. Wool Isaac Chol was sentenced in October 2024 to 20 months after purchasing Genesis packages containing hundreds of unauthorized access devices and using stolen access in a fraud scheme. Corey Robert Dodge, also known as Cake Spaler, was sentenced in May 2025 to 41 months for offenses, including possession of unauthorized access devices with intent to defraud. Andrew Schenkowski was sentenced in March 2026 to 60 months after purchasing nearly 2,500 stolen credentials from Genesis Market and using them in fraud. These cases are not evidence that those people ran Genesis. They show the opposite. The marketplace was a service. Its customers could become cases of their own. Another name, Terrence Michael Chizek, also known as Dr. Monster, was charged in a 2025 superseding indictment, according to the supplied research pack. Those allegations are not a conviction. He is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court. The distinction between accusation and verdict is not a legal footnote. It is part of telling this story honestly. Did the April 2023 action permanently destroy Genesis Market? The supplied public record supports a more careful answer. Major public-facing infrastructure was seized, the market was sanctioned, and international investigations continued. Contemporary reporting raised questions about whether a dark web version remained accessible immediately after the seizure, but the supplied record does not independently establish the marketplace's complete long-term status. So the accurate description is not, Genesis vanished forever. It is this: Genesis Market was heavily disrupted, its major public-facing domains were seized, and its users became targets of continuing investigation and prosecution. That uncertainty is fitting. Cybercrime marketplaces do not disappear from history when a homepage goes offline. The data may already be copied. The buyers may already have made purchases. The victims may not discover the damage until months later, and the operators may remain hidden. Genesis Market matters because it revealed how identity theft had evolved. It was no longer only about stealing a password. It was about stealing the environment around the password: the device, the browser, the saved information, the digital habits that make a real user look real. For individuals, the warning is personal. Convenience leaves traces. Saved passwords, browser sessions, autofill forms, remembered devices. For businesses, the warning is strategic. A single compromised employee identity can create fraud risk, financial loss, an internal security incident, or a doorway for more serious criminal activity. For law enforcement, Operation Cookie Monster demonstrated a different kind of response. Instead of pursuing only the final fraudster, investigators attacked the marketplace that supplied access to countless potential fraudsters. A market that advertised anonymity produced records. A network that sold access revealed its customers. A criminal service that turned people into inventory became evidence. Genesis Market did not sell ordinary products. It sold the illusion that a person could be copied. A login, a browser, a device, a familiar digital fingerprint, a life broken into searchable pieces. On April 4th, 2023, Operation Cookie Monster tore down much of that storefront. But the deeper lesson remains. The most dangerous thing stolen was not a password. It was trust. And somewhere in the cybercrime economy, there will always be someone willing to buy it.